Hey, splash. I forgot to do that in the last couple of videos. All right. I'm going live because I don't got time to like make videos and edit them, and I bought a software program to make it all fancy. Sometime when I'm blessed with more time, we'll get into that. So the other thing I'm doing is I'm using the right camera this time, which means I can't see my own image, which is probably good for my looking at the camera, but who knows how I'm framed. We're going on the fly. So this is a channel I've been planning for like 2 years now. At one time, I bought lights. I had a whole lighting setup. I had a good camera and had all this planned out. Never got it going because I always want to make it perfect. I want to plan everything out. I want to do everything. And you know what? It's been 2 years. If I don't just start pooping out videos, then screw it. All right. So, welcome. As you can see on here, this is a review. I'm going down. If you saw a prior video, I'm just going down watching Phish or listening to Phish shows from the Live Phish catalog. This one's November 22nd, 94. uh, if you saw those last videos, you already know, but the process I'm doing here, at least for now, is I got Live Phish Plus, so I'm just going through. I started in the first Live Phish, which was 89, Amy's Farm. I haven't done reviews on YouTube for all of those, but just for fun, I was going through and starting at the oldest and working my way through. And I decided this would be fun to do. Now, I don't really want to go back and do all of a review for all of those videos, but if there's any from the past, or it doesn't even have to be Live Phish. We got fishtracks.com. If you got a suggestion for a video, I'll check it out. I'll check it out. So I'm not even watching any sort of live chat because I have 6 subscribers. So I'm assuming nobody's going to catch this live. If you are, maybe I'll check the comments in a second. But anyway, November 22nd, 94. Less than a month after the first Halloween Phish show, which was the White Album, which we get a couple of White Album songs on this. This is one I've never heard before. This is one I've never heard before. Heard of before, I should say. You know, you hear about those 94, the Big Bowie with the Lassie stuff, which was a couple months before, I believe. You hear about the Runaway Jim that was an hour long. This is the year where Phish starts consciously in a live setting with an audience exploring their improvisations a little more. Now, I'm not an expert in Phish. I read the Phish book like 10 years ago, about 15 years ago. But I do remember some stuff. I know that they were doing exercises in their rehearsals for improv, but they really weren't exploring improvisation in a live setting until 93, 94, if I remember correctly. So 30-minute funky bitch, and this is obvious. We'll go in order. So the Buried Alive into Poor Heart, and the Buried Alive was super dark, by the way. But man, this era is tight. I said it in the last video. It is unbelievable how tight these guys were back then. It's incredible. And it's funny looking at the set list. I kind of have the Live Phish app up just to remind myself the set list. It's hilarious to see these song times. You know, I mean, well, let's see. 5 of the first 7 songs are less than 4 minutes, and considerably less than 4 minutes. Like my friend Tony, maybe I'll try to convince him to come on one of these because he's never listened to his first shows. I think he might have seen Big Cypress, or maybe 2000 was his first shows. Something like that. He caught Phish post jamming, and he's never even gone back and listened to early 90s Phish. And when I brought it up, when I first started doing this system of going through the old shows, I'm like, yeah, it's crazy. Like they're so wild in the 90s. And he's like, was that those shows where you get like 15 song first sets. I'm like, wow, he has no idea what 90s, what early 90s Phish was. And I'm sure he's listened to a live one, but at any rate, God, my app, there we go. I keep, okay, so yeah, the Foam, insane. I love listening to Foam, like 92, 93 Foam, and this one was pretty good too. They do a silent jam, and I swear the crowd got so quiet. I couldn't decide, I couldn't tell if Trey was just got onto an acoustic guitar and we were just hearing him play an acoustic guitar, or if the crowd was so quiet that you could actually hear him strumming his electric guitar with no sound. If that's the case, then that is amazing. The crowd did get super quiet during the a cappella parts, which was pretty cool. So it's possible. But anyway, my app is really not doing great here. I'll just go to my notes. Gaiuti. Holy cow. I love the old Gaiuti arrangement. They slightly changed it later on. And I really like this. It's not super different, but I really like the older arrangement. I didn't know, like I said last show, I could hear it, and I didn't know every show, and I'd never complain. Yeah, the Sweet Adeline. The crowd was really respecting the quiet. I've heard a couple shows from like '93, maybe up before in my listen, where they were there's a bunch of dudes kind of yelling out random shit. But anyway, that was set one. But let's just get to the meat here. The reason I'm sure why this show was chosen. Funky Bitch. Holy shit, 29-minute Funky Bitch, which goes into Yerushalayim Shel Zahav. I'm better at reading Hebrew in Hebrew than English transliteration, but I always love when Phish does the Jewish songs because I love those like sort of I love chant. I love like Byzantine chant, Gregorian chant, Jewish chant. Love that stuff. And then they go into a Cry Baby Cry, the first of two, I believe. Don't they do? Huh. I swore they did they did Blackbird. So they did two of the White Album. A curtain without the width is kind of tough for me now. I saw the first time they did width since the '80s. I was there at Columbus in 2000 when they played the curtain width, and I flipped my shit because I just happened to start listening to an old '80s show that had the curtain width on it, and I remember thinking, "Wow, why don't they do this anymore?" I know it's became Rift, but who cares? And I went nuts in that show, and everybody around me was like, "What are they playing? What is this?" I said, "It's the curtain width. They haven't played it since the '80s. It was crazy. It was like 10 years. That was a bust out back then. 10 years. I mean, come on, what's a bust out now? Like 30 years? That's crazy." So this Funky Bitch, the jamming, it's a 30-minute Funky Bitch, and in the beginning of the jam actually does have a later kind of funk sound, but it's very short, and then they go off on these tangents, and these early mid '90s jams, like the Tweezer from Banger, was it Banger, the one that's on a live one, where it's just like this schizophrenic 2 minutes here, and they take a hard left turn. Sometimes can be too jarring, and I like that they settled down a lot, but it seems like Phish decided in '97 and maybe starting to in '96 that like, oh, nope, we're only going to groove from now on till the end of time. We're going to be all groove all the time. Every jam is going to groove. And I kind of wish that they would do this stuff a little more. Like I like that it's not you're not breaking your neck at every turn like some of these '94 jams, but at the same time they could throw it in there every once in a while. It'd be cool. It'd be different at this point. I will say One of my favorite shows I ever saw, night two, I believe, at Dick's in 2012, whatever the date was. I don't remember what the date was, but they did the set two was this monster sand, which is what it's known for, and then they went into Ghost and then into Piper, and the Piper, which is a pretty short Piper. I mean, it was like only 9 minutes or something, or maybe 12 or something. It was a pretty short Piper considering, but they actually do some crazy little 94 kind of jamming to me. That's how I took it at the time. I was like, wow, they're calling back to their roots. Uh, but that funky bitch, I like this 94 jamming better than the other 94 jamming I've listened to, like the Big Bowie from whatever date that was. I should have done my homework. Um, but this experience in 94 for the heads that had seen, for the Phish heads that were going to shows all the time in 92 to 94, seeing a 30-minute funky bitch must have been like, what on earth are they fucking doing? And then like this 30-minute funky bitch into a Jewish chant into Cry Baby Cry. I mean, that had to be just like balls to the wall, like insanity. And like you had to imagine, like in this era, I mean, yeah, you could say so in this era, you truly didn't know what the fuck was gonna happen. Like you just had no fucking clue. What am I swearing on this show? I don't know. I guess I am. You had no clue what was gonna happen from one show to the next. And you could make that argument still. Like you might get, I saw the Moby Dick show in 2000. You get your shows like where they spell fuck your face or whatever, like um like it can happen where you're just like, whoa, what are they doing now these days? But it seems like in 94 and 92 to 94 era that I've been listening to mostly lately, it's truly what the fuck is going to happen next. And maybe they played a million shows a year that during that time. So maybe I'm getting you know, the distilled moments, and maybe it seems that way now, but because that's all I hear because I'm listening to special selected shows. But holy crap, it seems like anything could happen. Uh, and something that I thought was pretty cool, and this goes back to the crowd being quiet and respectful. Not only the crowd, but during Blackbird, after this monster 30-minute funky bitch, do this crazy. God, I'm so sorry. I will turn my volume down finally. After this monster funky bitch, they do this, Jewish chant. Now they're doing it into Cry Baby Cry, and it gets quiet. First of all, Page's voice sounds amazing. Like, just Page, oh man. He's always been a decent singer, but it seems like he was really on top of his game then. But a little thing as a musician, or at least at this point, I guess I should say former musician, the fact that Phish turns off his snare, because it gets so quiet, you can hear people like clearing their throats, but what you don't hear is that annoying rattle on the snare drum, which if you've ever been in a band, and you get to a quiet part, and then you just hear the entire like the bass guitar rattling that snare drum. It's really annoying. I was always very proud when I played drums. Turn that snare drum off when you're not playing drums because it'll get annoying. But Phish clearly did that little random thing for you. What else do we got here? Blackbird, Phish. The segue. Oh yeah, and then the segue from Runaway Jim to Big Black Furry Creature from Mars is just unreal. God, I love it when they do that stuff. Segue. I'm a segue guy. Like when I used to stare at set lists, I would just look for all the arrows. Which, by the way, I only learned last year or maybe the year before that there's two different versions of the arrow. There's the alligator mouth is F Zappa 20. There's the alligator mouth and the one with the dot, which is a more proper segue apparently. Anyway, but the big black furry creature from Mars is hilarious. Hilarious. And then to finish it acoustic, Trey plays the fiddle apparently. I didn't know that was him. I was like, who's playing the violin? I won't call it a fiddle ever again. Who's I know in bluegrass it's called a fiddle, but I hate that word. I'm like, who's playing the violin? It's a little off key sometimes, but then when Paige gives him props for only playing for a week, if that's true, that's amazing. Either that or he was giving him shit because he was a little out of tune sometimes. But anyway, the other thing, going back to the, I'm almost done here. This is probably a long one. I can't see the time because I got the screen turned around. So this is probably way longer than I intended. So, but the other thing, going back to how crazy it was back then, my first show was in 99 and at Target Center in Minneapolis. And then I saw Big Cypress a couple months later. In fact, I had tickets to Big Cypress first. Big Cypress was going to be my first show, and Minneapolis is 4 hours away. I was like, okay, well, I'll go see. Great show, by the way. Target Center 99, fantastic show. So glad I went. But had some crazy synchronicities, which I'll probably detail someday on this channel. But anyway, 99. So this is 99 was 5 years after this show. And Phish had completely changed in those 5 years. Not completely. They changed a lot. The band I saw was playing 25-minute, that was a normal thing. And all these jams and all this stuff. In 94, they were completely different. Faster, crazier, wilder, far less mellow and chill. Like the difference of 5 years, like I'm recording this, it's 2019. 5 years ago was 2014. To hear Phish in 2014, the difference to now is minimal. I'm sure there's differences and a few extra new songs and stuff, but their sound is not that much different. And when you consider that, 2014 was the Lushington show. Like I saw them play the Lushington show. Not the song, but they spelled Lushington. Like it blows my mind. The 90s were an amazing time for Phish. Phish has always been great. They're still great. They're doing things that are more polished than ever, but boy, the 90s were crazy, and that much change in 5 years is incredible. So this has gone on way too long. I'm just gonna peek. 18 minutes. Well, anyway, and by the way, I changed the channel name to Tim Jim Maloney. I was gonna change it. There's like a million Tim Maloneys. So I thought Tim Jim, my middle name's James III from the 5 Year Mission podcast. I thought, I'll change it to Tim Jim. No, there's no channel name Tim Jim. I'm sure. I searched for it and counted. There are 31 different YouTube channels named Tim Jim, and that's just Tim Jim. That's not Tim Jim Destiny or Tim Jim whatever. Just named Tim Jim. 31 channels. Anyway, like, subscribe. I should work on my outros, but I got 6 subscribers. I got time to work on it. Splash, I guess.